Hello, third grade angels. Welcome back to Fiesta Gardens Library. This is week 5 of library during distant learning. We are going to continue with Third Grade Angels by Jerry Spinelli. Today, we will start on chapter 8. And if you remember last time, Mrs. Sims started laughing so hard because all the students were trying to bribe their way from being bad during that hat incident. They brought her apples and even a corned beef sandwich. She told them, "You cannot buy me. You have to concentrate on being good and doing good, not bringing the teacher yummies in order to have her think that you are an angel." Chapter 8. Perfect. For our first work of the day, we started to learn cursive. The 26 letters, capitals and little ones, were written on a green track across the top of the board. Our job was to copy the capitals A to Z 5 times each. I was super neat and careful. I kept the letters perfectly between the blue lines on the paper, except when they had to go below for the J, Y, and Z. Mrs. Sims walked around looking over our shoulders. When she stopped next to me, she tapped her fingers on my desk and whispered, "Good." We did map reading. Mrs. Sims spun the big globe. She asked who would come up and point to the Indian Ocean. She called on Noah Jablonski. He missed it. She called on Diana Briggs. Not even close. She called on me. I nailed it. In math, Mrs. Sims said by the end of the year, we're going to add and subtract numbers up to, she wrote it on the board, 10,000. "How much is that?" she said. Joey called out, "1,000,000. Mrs. Sims didn't even look at him. When you don't raise your hand, she just ignores you. I raised my hand. She called on me. 10,000, I said. I was right. Mrs. Sims read us a story. It was about a city kid who spends his summer on a farm. When she came to a strange word, she stopped. The word was husbandry. "Anybody know what husbandry means?" she asked the class. Only one hand went up. Emma Feldman said, "A married man?" It was wrong. Joey's hand shot up. "Two married men?" Everybody laughed. I raised my hand. "George, could I please go to the dictionary and look it up?" She smiled. "Be my guest." I went to the dictionary. It sits on its own little table called a podium. Mrs. Sims spelled the word for me. I looked it up. I read aloud. On a farm, growing crops and raising animals. Husbandry. A couple of kids clapped. Joey whistled. Mrs. Sims glared at him. But I could tell she wasn't really mad. In the playground, I did a nice thing. We chose sides for a basketball game. I was a chooser. I chose the best players until the last one. Then I chose Walter Glipner. Everyone was shocked, including Walter. Nobody ever chooses Walter. When he shoots the ball, forget about the basket. He can't even hit the backboard. When Walter got over the shock of being chosen, he stuffed his glasses in the pocket and cried, "Let's go!" Here they are in the schoolyard. I never saw a kid so happy and excited. It made me feel good. Mrs. Sims was at the fence talking to another teacher. I wondered if she saw what I did. At lunch, we had sloppy joes and a green vegetable, peas. 3 days a week, we have a green vegetable. I never take it. This time I did. I was the only one at my table with peas. Joey picked one out of my dish and flicked it at Bernard Weber. Secretly, I hoped the other guys would dig in and start a big pea fight until there weren't any peas left. I ate my sloppy joe as slow as I could. I drank my chocolate milk, and still my dish was full of peas, -1. Lunch hour was almost over. I gobbled them down. I tried not to taste. But on the way back to class, I felt good. I felt like an angel. That's how I felt for the rest of the day. As I walked out of the classroom, I said, "Goodbye, Mrs. Sims." She said, "Goodbye, George." And the way she smiled at me, it was like she was sending me a message. You were perfect today. I was first on the bus. As I sat there, I replayed the day in my head. Mrs. Sims was right. I was perfect. I sat up straight in my bus seat. I looked out. I saw Mrs. Sims standing at our classroom window. I'm pretty sure she was looking at me. I'm pretty sure she was smiling. In a couple of minutes, the bus was mobbed. Zipper-Nose flopped into her seat right across the aisle from me. She had to lean forward because her pink backpack was so stuffed. She didn't look at me. She was gabbing away with some other second grader in the seat in front of her. It was the weirdest feeling when I realized I was looking at her. I never look at her, but I was. And that's when a really scary question came to me. Chapter 9, Spies. Does it count if the teacher doesn't see it? My mother was in the backyard. She was cutting stuff from her herb garden. Her head came up. Say it again. If Mrs. Sims doesn't see me being good, how am I supposed to get credit for my halo? She snipped a couple of stems and stood up. She turned around. There they are in the garden. I laughed. She was wearing the supersized movie star sunglasses I gave her as a joke for her birthday. In other words, she said, you want to know if it's okay to be bad when you're not at school. Another word trick. I was thinking it over when Zipper-Nose came screeching, Mommy, Mommy, let me wear them, let me wear them. She was jumping up, grabbing for the glasses. I smacked her hand away. No. She punched me. Her punches don't hurt. You stop it. They're Mommy's glasses. I gave them to her, I said. Which makes them mine, said my mother. She took them off and handed them to Zipper-Nose. 1 minute and give them back. Zipper-Nose went dancing across the yard. I heard a chuckle. My mother was grinning down at me. So, she continued, what you really want to know is if you have to be nice to your sister, right? My mother is unbelievable. She not only knows the answers, she knows all the questions. Well, I said, sorta. She nodded. The grin was gone. A serious answer was coming. Okay, here's what I think. You like Mrs. Sims, right? Yes, I said. You like her because she's nice, right? Right. And nice people usually have a lot of friends, wouldn't you say? I guess so. So she sniffed her handful of herbs. Mrs. Sims, nice Mrs. Sims, probably has a lot of friends. You with me? It's funny. My dad is the lawyer, but my mom often sounds like one. Yeah, I said. So here's what I think. She jabbed the herbs at me. I think it's not just Mrs. Sims keeping an eye on you. I think it's her network of friends too. They're probably all over the place. If they see one of her students acting up, they report back to her. You mean like spies? I asked. She nodded. Sort of. She brushed the herbs across my nose. I smelled mint. If you ask my advice, I'd say you better not take any chances. You better be nice to everybody all the time. She poked the herbs at the dancing Zipper-Nose. Sad to say, old Sudsy, includes your dear little sister. She called, Amy, time's up. Zipper-Nose squealed, 1 more minute. Mom held out her hand. Now, she said it in her don't mess with me voice. Zipper-Nose groaned and slugged over and gave up the glasses. She gave me her best, I hate you face, and said poop and punched me, like it was all my fault. Usually, I would hit her back. Instead, I looked at the neighbor's backyard, at the neighbor's windows. I wondered if a spy was lurking behind a shade. I let Zippernose go grumping off unhit, and then Mom was squeezing me and saying, "My little angel." That was the end of chapter 9. Next week, we will start with chapter 10, titled Angel at Home. Thank you for listening to third grade angels, chapters 8 and 9. I can't wait to read chapter 10 to you. Bye-bye, my third grade angels.